What's up, everybody? We got another episode from Gen V Season 2, unraveling the mystery that is Dean Cipher. Let's dive into episode 4. Firecracker and Kate welcome us back in this media bit they're doing with the school this season, and it's not just from the show. They've, of course, done it over in The Boys, the main show with Homelander, forcing people to say things and just vaunt in general. But here in Gen V Season 2, I think it's perfect. They're nailing it with both sides of it, but I especially love how they're keeping things going with forcing the students to make speeches, as we saw Jordan do multiple times in the 3 episode premiere. But now we've got Kate doing it too, where she's got an edit every 5 words in this bullshit statement. Then after the premiere, I know we kind of collectively decided that Dean Cipher was a Godolkin, and of course, it is confirmed in this episode that he is, but it wasn't confirmed at this point, so I figured I'd mention this. It's the scene where they're discussing the fight that's going to happen, and where the Vought guy is in the room drowning in fear, and he's so incredibly uncomfortable. That dude, who is so uncomfortable here at the school, works in a building where Homelander is flipping between sucking titties and executing members of the Seven. It felt like them just flat out telling us that Cipher is an OG. Anyway, we see Kate, Jordan, and Marie come together, pause, over their hatred of Cipher and also Kate's guilt. She's trying to redeem herself, but her powers being messed up, turning into a door for these creators to get back to their antics once again is why they're so good. I know, some people will say, oh, they go too far with both of the shows sometimes with how crazy they get, but for me, it's just too absurd to not find it funny. But I do feel bad for that gnome. Jokes aside, Kate and Jordan go to the dean's house and find Cypher's secret, what can only, and is confirmed to be, Thomas Godolkin's burned body. Somehow he survived that lab explosion that we saw in the premiere, and he's looking like he took a trip to Mustafar. This scene was also what eventually gave us a confirmation that Cipher is indeed a Godolkin, Thomas's son. Then I've got a prediction that's kind of for the rest of this season, but also it bleeds into The Boys Season 5, with how much we're seeing Marie's powers develop here, and assuming that's going to continue into the back half of this season, I think she's going to be a pretty major part of the Starlight versus Homelander war. It feels like that's going to be a brutal conclusion to that main show, and Starlight, who we've of course already seen in this season of Gen V, is going to need all the help she can get in that war. It also helps that, Cypher says Marie was made to be stronger than the big man himself, so it does kind of just make sense too. Getting back to this episode though, the creators were in their bag this week. We got another great bit, and I guess I could be wrong about this, it could be something else, but to me, this is playing on Joe Rogan calling the UFC. Now, they don't make a big thing out of it, they don't make a big deal, but it stood out with your average looking commentator, and then Vicar sitting right next to him, much like to me an ex-fighter sitting next to your average commentator will stand out. Then the episode closed as Cypher shows us his powers and confirms that the burned body is in fact his father, Thomas Godolkin. But we got that down already. I want to talk about his powers here. It seems that he has the ability to possess people as he forces Jordan to fight Marie, and Marie to use more of her powers that he's been trying to unlock. I mean, he doesn't possess her to do that. He just makes her fight Jordan to do that, and that was pretty cool. But there were 3 things here that I want to talk about. One, that hospital scene from the premiere where Kate thinks she killed that nurse kind of feels like maybe Cypher was messing with her, and that was actually him doing that. I chose the word possess for a reason when I talked about his powers, because he basically becomes a person. I mean, in the fight, we see him, he's waving for Jordan, he's smiling at Marie for her. So either that or kind of like a Marie with Victoria Newman in season 1. Kate, she's going to have untapped potential in the same power set as Cypher, and we'll see that unfold as the season goes on. 2, kind of sticking on the same general idea, how his powers work, I think Kate not being able to read him, for example, isn't actually her powers not working, although they're definitely all out of whack as we see with that poor gnome. It's his powers eliminating the option to read him. Sort of like, he's jumping in her driver's seat, as we of course see him do with Jordan, and then he's steering clear of himself. Finally, his power set, even though we're not 100% sure what all he can do and what it is specifically, it does feel like a contingency plan from his father. Make your son your secret weapon to hold on to power. It's some nasty work. Maybe he's a different type of soup altogether because Marie, she of course didn't sense any V in his blood, but I suppose that could be, the same situation as Kate, where he was actually the one controlling Marie there and misleading her, or, and stick with me here, his power is actually controlling Compound V, and that's the explanation behind everything. I don't know, but I'm locked in for the rest of the season. That was another good episode for season 2, though. I've really enjoyed it so far. They got back to their bag a ton this week with some of the most ridiculous antics you've ever seen, as this universe, The Boys and Gen V, is at its best, when we've got a ton of laughs coming from the absurdity while a mystery rapidly unfolds right behind it. This right here is shaping up to be one hell of a season at the halfway point. And so that's going to do it for my breakdown of the fourth episode of Gen V Season 2. As always, I want to know what you guys thought about this week's episode, so let me know down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.